Hello and welcome to a mini episode of OBS Mythbusters. My name is Jessica, known online as TealQT, and I am a support volunteer and moderator for the OBS project. You can find a link to join our Discord in the description. In this video, I'm going to be answering the question, what are dropped frames? And tell you a little bit more about what you can do about them. OBS has a very specific definition of what dropped frames are, so just to be clear, we're only talking about when this dropped frames number in the bottom status bar of OBS goes up. This counter doesn't appear when you're recording, and if it's at 0, you are not dropping frames as far as OBS is concerned. So what is this counter counting? The dropped frames counter tells you how many frames you've lost due to an internet connection problem. OBS won't report any other types of issue in that counter, just internet connection problems. This is why it doesn't appear in recordings, for example. In fact, it's not really possible for OBS to be causing dropped frames itself, since we're using built-in functions of Windows, Mac OS, and Linux to actually send frames out over the internet. So, how do drop frames actually happen? Let's explain. It's going to get a little bit technical, but not to worry, we're going to use a diagram and keep things nice and simple. So, as you stream, OBS has a 3-step process that is constantly running. First, every frame is rendered into a still image, like a JPEG or a PNG. This image here is still at the highest quality possible. Next, that image is compressed by your encoder to make sure it's not too big for the bitrate that you're currently using. Then, OBS sends the frame to the server over your internet connection. This entire 3-step process is happening 30 to 60 times per second, depending on the frame rate of your stream. Now, the speed of an internet connection is not always going to be a consistent thing. There are many different factors in how fast your connection to your streaming service is going to be at any given moment, and this might include traffic to the streaming service or traffic on your local network. Even if your connection can sustain a certain speed most of the time, there might still be dips below that speed every now and again. So in this example, we're going to say that someone else has started uploading a file on your network. Your upload speed is going to slow down a little bit, and OBS can't quite send that frame in real time. When this happens, that particular frame is stored in memory. OBS still tries to send it as fast as possible, but by the time that frame gets sent, a few more frames might have piled up. OBS is going to try again to send those frames as fast as possible without dropping them. But let's say that this gets even worse, and a lot more frames have started to pile up, until we have almost a second's worth of footage that needs to be sent. After a bit more than half a second's worth of frames have piled up in that queue to be sent, we will start to drop frames from the queue in favor of more recent frames. Why that specific amount? If we made it lower, OBS would become very sensitive to minor network hiccups, and you'd potentially see dropped frames more often. If we increased it, we have a couple of other problems. The first is that the latency between your broadcast and what the viewer sees on the stream might increase dramatically. You could also end up with a very large and hard to send queue, and this could create problems as well. We also don't want to store every frame in the queue here, because if we did that, eventually, if you dropped frames enough, you would just run out of memory. If you are seeing drop frames pretty consistently, what's most likely happening is that your bitrate is set too high for your internet connection to actually handle. The higher the bitrate that you use, the higher the quality of your video. But that also requires higher upload speeds, and your connection will need to be consistently above those speeds. If you regularly see dropped frames, try lowering your bitrate to avoid dropped frames. Now, whether that's something that you only see on occasion, or something that you see fairly regularly, the OBS team has a comprehensive connection issues guide that you can take a look at. This guide covers roughly a dozen different things that you can try to troubleshoot dropped frames. It's all of the advice that the OBS team can offer about dropped frames and disconnection issues, and it may even help with some issues outside of OBS, so it's a useful resource to have on hand. Link in the description. So, to sum up, dropped frames are caused when your internet connection isn't quite fast enough to send frames to your streaming service in time. OBS can't cause these dropped frames directly, and so internet connection issues are the only cause of them. Thank you for watching this mini Mythbusters video. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like it and subscribe so you can see the latest OBS Mythbusters videos as soon as they come out. And if you need help with anything OBS Studio, make sure to visit obsproject.com/help. where you can find the OBS wiki with a ton of guides and information, as well as the Discord server, the forums, and more. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.